they said it was too late. The billionaire CEO's daughter was slipping away, and every doctor had given up hope. But just when the world thought it was over, one single father, with nothing left but his own blood and love, walked in, and what happened next shocked everyone. This is not just a story of survival, but of sacrifice, hope, and the miracle that love can create. Stay with me till the end, you will never forget this. The hospital room was filled with silence, broken only by the faint beeping of machines. A powerful CEO, a man feared in boardrooms and envied by rivals, now stood powerless at the bedside of his only daughter, Sophia, her fragile frame swallowed by wires and tubes. Doctors whispered outside the glass wall, their faces heavy with defeat. "She needs a rare blood type," one said, "but the donors we tested are incompatible. Even if we find one, it may be too late." The CEO clenched his fists, his eyes red. All his wealth, power, and influence could not buy back the rhythm of his daughter's fading heartbeat. He had built empires, crushed competitors, yet he was about to lose the only person who had ever made him human. News spread. Journalists camped outside the hospital. "The mighty CEO's daughter is dying," they reported. Some mocked his arrogance, others pitied him, but no one could help. The CEO's empire had walls higher than most men's dreams, but those walls could not keep death away. And then, in the same hospital, on a different floor, sat a single dad named Daniel, holding the hand of his little boy. Unlike the CEO, Daniel owned nothing, no fortune, no fame, just the quiet pride of raising his son alone after losing his wife to illness. Daniel overheard the commotion, the desperate cries of a man who had everything yet was losing the only thing that mattered. He didn't know the CEO, but he knew pain. He knew what it was like to watch someone you love slip away, powerless to stop it. When the nurse announced the rare blood type needed, Daniel's heart skipped. It was the same as his. At first, he hesitated. He had his own child to protect. What if something went wrong? But when he looked at his son's innocent eyes, he remembered the lessons he wanted to leave behind, that true strength wasn't in what you owned, but in what you gave. With quiet courage, Daniel stepped forward. "Test me. I'll do it." Doctors rushed. Time was slipping. The CEO, broken, turned to look at Daniel, this stranger who had nothing, offering everything. The transfusion began. Daniel's blood flowed through tubes, entering Sophia's fragile body. It was more than blood, it was hope, it was sacrifice, it was the heart of a father who understood love too deeply to ignore another child's suffering. Hours passed. The CEO watched in silence, his face trembling. This man, this nobody in his eyes, was doing what all his billions could not. And then, the miracle. Sophia's pulse strengthened. Color returned to her cheeks. The doctor's eyes widened. "She's responding," one shouted. Against every prediction, life began to flow back into the CEO's daughter. The room filled with tears. The mighty CEO fell to his knees, not before money, not before power, but before a humble father who had given part of himself for a stranger's child. Afterward, when Daniel lay weak from the donation, the CEO approached him. For the first time in years, his voice cracked. "Why?" he asked. "Why would you give so much, for me?" Daniel looked at his son, who was watching with wide, proud eyes. "Because someday, my boy will face a world without me. And I want him to know that love is bigger than fear, bigger than power, bigger than anything else." The CEO broke down, his mask of strength shattered. He had spent his life chasing numbers, victories, and legacies, but in that moment, he realized the greatest wealth was human kindness. Days later, Sophia walked again. The world called it a miracle. But for Daniel, it was simple, it was what any father would do if he could. And something changed in the CEO. He found himself not only grateful but transformed. His daughter had been saved by a man society overlooked, a single dad who proved that greatness is not in fortune but in sacrifice. The CEO and Daniel remained unlikely friends. He funded Daniel's son's education, but more than that, he carried a new lesson into the boardrooms of his empire: we rise by lifting others. They said she couldn't be saved. But a stranger's love rewrote her destiny. And maybe that's the message we all need: miracles don't always come from heaven, sometimes, they flow from one human heart to another. If this story touched you, share it. Because love, once given, never dies, it multiplies.